welcome to the 2022 Moto Guzzi V7 Stone, an 853cc to be exact, transversely mounted 90-degree V-twin, retro modern classic style motorbike in competition with possibly things like the Royal Enfield Interceptor 650, the Triumph Bonneville T100, the original Moto Guzzi as it's pronounced, not Guzzi, as some may believe. The original V7 was launched in 1976, all the way through until 2008. Then in 2008 it had a big revamp, big update, all the way through until 2021. Now in 2021, Moto Guzzi gave the bike a bit of a revamp, a bit of magic sauce just to update it for Euro 5 compliant and a few little extra pieces. So before we take her for a ride, I'm going to go over what they've updated in the 2021 model and then see if it's any better and how it rides to its competition. Okay, so before we jump on, go for a ride, what are the updates in 2021? Even though this is actually a 2022 model, interesting, but it's exactly the same as a 2021. So the updates they went for, they took the engine out of the V85 TT Moto Guzzi and popped it in the V7. It's exactly the same motor now, it is slightly detuned, so this is running in around 64 brake horsepower and 73 Newton meters of torque off the top of my head. So it's not an incredibly powerful motorcycle, but it does compete with the likes of the Triumph Bonneville T100 and the Interceptor 650. So power figures, it's very similar to its competition. It's a middleweight, modern classic motorcycle. So what about that engine? Well, compared to its competition, the differences you're getting is it's a V-twin, guys. It is a classic V-twin. We're going to jump on the road and we'll go over what it feels like to ride, etc. But lots of modern bikes are heading towards the parallel twin setup. Just a slightly smoother, more economical ride. The V-twin naturally has more vibes and some could say character to the engine, and Moto Guzzi have stuck with the V-twin. We should take it a ride, see what it's like, but it does pack a punch in the character department. There are some nice characterful vibes. As you can see behind me, it's transversely mounted, which basically means the engine's mounted transversely, so sideways across the motorcycle, and you can see the cylinders here, the V-twin 90 degrees poking out sideways from the side of the motorbike. So this gives it a very unique character and feel to the engine when you start it up. Just a couple of other extra updates for the 2021 model. Slightly longer travel suspension on the rear shocks there. Coming around to the front, a particular update that I really like, the LED headlight. They've integrated the Mandello Eagle Moto Guzzi logo in the headlight there. Up for debate if you like the look of it, but personally I think that's a great touch. I think it looks really, really cool. Also, quite a noticeable update actually is, come around to the front, if we turn her on, is the dash. So they've gone for a new LCD dash, also integrated the Eagle logo, which is quite cool here on the LCD. That's up for personal preference. Personally, on a classic style bike like this, I prefer an old school analog dial, but we'll get on to that in a bit because there is an option for that. Right, just before we shoot off, I just want to show you one thing which I think it is, well, I know is unique to this motorcycle and is an interesting factor. I'd actually like to thank Dearden Motorcycles just outside of Southampton in the New Forest. They have Moto Guzzi, Aprilia, various different motorcycle brands and manufacturers, and if you fancy test riding this very machine, then get down there and give them a shout. One massive bonus to that is they're in the New Forest and it is a stunning area to ride a motorbike, honestly. Horses walking around, which is not ideal for motorcycling, but if you take it easy it's alright, but there are some good roads without the cattle and horses. Anyway, thank you very much, Dearden Motorcycles. But the salesman was telling me, watch out for the V-twin transversely mounted, just so that you're aware of it. When you start it up, I'll demonstrate it now. The feeling to me is very reminiscent of a BMW GS or any motorcycle with the BMW Boxer twin in, where the pistons are firing horizontally, basically. You get that shift from left to right. Let me demonstrate. So not sure if you can see that, but the bike has a nice jolt to the side. Now that's not for some people actually. Some people don't like those characters. I call it character from a V-twin. That's why many other manufacturers, Triumph Bonnevilles included, have gone to a parallel twin. It's just that bit smoother and potentially just easier and friendlier to ride. However, I absolutely love a V-twin. I think it adds so much character to the motorbike and to the riding experience. I often find riding motorbikes, there's just little something missing. All of the modern day motorcycles are very impressive, very fast, do everything extremely well, but there's just that magic sauce. There's something missing. I find myself just going faster to try and fill that hole. The V-twin, for me anyway, fills that hole, fills that gap. It fills the emptiness. There's so much character in this engine. Oh, pheasant, one of the stupidest animals ever to grace. That's what I tell you about the New Forest. There's some donkeys up here as well. Lovely place to ride around. A few asses. Hello. Yeah, the V-twin to me in this, beware. It's very different to the Bonnevilles and the Interceptors, etc. It's a different kettle of fish, and I think it is all the better for it. Some would see it as unrefined, vibey. Jeez. Yes, this is an eventful review, this. You've got to watch your back here. Some would find it vibey, you know, unrefined, etc. Personally, love the V-twin. 64 brake horsepower and 73 Newton meters of torque. You're not breaking any records, but it's got a nice note to the exhaust, and it's got plenty of go to it. I'd describe it as it's quite a long-legged engine because it's a V-twin. It's got some quite long throws, and it just feels like it's got plenty of long-legged power there for ringing it out. It's really nice for that style of riding. Okay, so we're just going to come through the town of Bewley, another beautiful place, but we'll just see what it's like through town, because these sorts of bikes, the modern retros, the classics, they are great for bundling around country lanes and shorter rides, and they're actually really good town bikes generally, and I think the V7's no exception. I think it's going to be fine. You do get some thrums from the V-twin right here, but as I was saying, personally that's something I really like. Is no problem in town. It's a lovely light clutch. The gear throw is very positive, not heavy at all. I wouldn't describe it as a very light gear throw through the foot, but it's positive, medium weight to it, but the clutch is very light, and there's just no complaining at low revs. Being a V-twin, nice low down torque, really nice through town. Added to that, the brakes, you have a single disc up front, a single 320mm disc, so the brakes aren't too sharp. They're more than adequate at stopping the bike, but for in town it's a nice feature because you're not going to find yourself grabbing a load of brake and just jolting forward. It's a nice sort of smooth stopping progression. Brilliantly geared for in town as well. We're in third gear going 30, and to be honest, third will actually stretch all the way to 55-60 miles an hour if you really push it. Nice long geared third gear to take you through town. Right guys, what's the handling like? Suspension, we've got 40mm hydraulic telescopic forks up front, dual rear shocks with two-way preload adjustable. Straight out of the box, it's a pliant ride. It's not a stiff suspension setup, but the handling is something I've been pleasantly surprised with. Just as I say that, there are some horses, so we have to slow right down. But yeah, the handling is actually, I'm very surprised. It's slightly reminiscent, again, I'm going to say, of a BMW motorcycle with the boxer engine. Whether it is or is just in your head, I'm not sure, but you can see the motor poking out. It feels like you can sort of lean it over that engine and pivot it over the engine. The weight feels very low down. With that, it's a 780mm seat height, so it's a very low seat height as well. So you're carrying all of that weight nice and low down. Saying this, I'm on the straightest stretch of road I've been on all day. But take my word for it, it is a nimble motorcycle, much better handling than I was expecting. It's right up there with the Bonneville, if not nicer handling, I would say. Very impressed. Here's a corner. It's actually fairly quick to turn in. It's surprising, and once you're into the corner, it's settled. Okay, the odd bump does unsettle the bike a little bit, but it's to be expected with these middleweight classics. They're not high performance machines. So what's the comfort like? Yeah, it's a nice seat. That's something I forgot to mention actually. The seat for the 2021 onwards models, it's a more sculpted seat. They've done some work on it, and it's more comfortable. Yeah, the seat's very comfortable. It's actually relatively wide, not too wide, but relatively wide, but given it's such a low seat height, still very easy to get your feet to the ground. You know what? I thought the riding position was going to be more upright, more bolt upright than it is. You are slightly over the front end, not in a sporty way at all, don't get that wrong. It's a very comfortable riding position, but if you're comparing it to a Triumph Bonneville, you are slightly more canter forward, not quite as that classic bolt upright seating position, but overall really comfortable. One thing to take into consideration, again, because of the V-twin engine, you do get some vibes. Now, they're not bad vibes at all. You can feel it slightly through the pegs. Handlebars very minimal. They're really not bad vibes. It just lets you know that you're on a V-twin. That's what a V-twin's all about. It's all about that character. At faster speeds, dual carriageways, etc., it's really not bad. You knock it all the way up into sixth gear, 70 miles an hour, and it's quite a comfortable ride. But if you do like smoothness, you do like a smooth bike, then you may be better off looking towards the parallel twin. So I just pulled over side of the road, the New Forest. There's probably can't see it through the camera, but there's sort of wild horses all over in the background there. It's brilliant. But I'll just show you the screen, the LCD screen. Now, as said earlier, there is an option to not have the LCD if you don't like it. Now, that option is called the Moto Guzzi V7 Special 850. If I was going to get one of these bikes, this Stone, the base version, is 8,200. Now the Special is 8,600. So for £400, 4, 3, 4, 5, yeah, 4. That would have been embarrassing. For £400 more, you can look at the Special. Now this is a fantastic looking bike. Hand on heart, I think it's brilliant with the V-twin. The fit and finish, the quality of this motorcycle is brilliant, but the Special, I'm yet to see one. I would like to get a ride on one. That looks very nice, and it has dual analog old school speedometers on it and dials, which my personal opinion is much more authentic, especially on a classic bike like this. I'll just show you the LCD now. So the LCD, as we pointed out earlier, you've got the Mandello, the eagle shaped touch on the LCD, which is good. Yeah, it's a fairly straightforward, simple dash. There's nothing wrong with it at all. I just think on such a lovely looking motorcycle, it would be nice to have those old school analog dash there. Little touches like on the forward mudguard here, you've got the logo, the eagle, which is just very cool. So this is the new seat for 2022. It's all in one seat, but it's just slightly more sculpted, slightly more thought and effort gone into the seat, and actually it's a really quality seat. It's nice and wide, as I was saying, and cushioned. Leather around for the pillion and the sides, and then here is like sort of not Alcantara, but it's that slight sort of finish. And then come around the rear, you've got your Moto Guzzi name stitched in the rear of the seat there. So guys, oh, excuse me, just turning around here, bit slippy on the gravel, but it's not too hard to turn around. It's not the lightest in its class, this bike. 218 kilograms wet weight. It's not the lightest bike in the class by any means. However, along with the such low seat height, when you're moving along on the road, you just don't feel the weight at all. It's not even a factor. The good thing about it is you can feel where the weight is. It's the engine, it's the V-twin, and I don't see it as a problem at all. I honestly don't. Just on these styles of bikes, these modern classic, as long as it's not 250 kilograms and you're lugging around a heifer, then it's absolutely fine. So any downsides? We go on to the potential downside. Not a biggie, but the switchgear, considering the whole rest of the bike really is fantastic build quality. The fuel cap, the fuel tank, which whilst we're on it is 21 litres, it's a big fuel tank. The engine finish is fantastic. I say the switchgear is a little bit plasticky, but you know, for the price range, it's completely to be expected. It's the same as, if I'm going to be honest, same as Yamaha, Suzuki, any of the brands like that as well. So yeah, but that's one potential you could look down on, basically, compared to the Bonneville. Personally, a downside for me is that dash. It does bug me that I would almost fork out the extra 400 on the special just to get the nice dual analog dash. I'm not sure why they do that, manufacturers, especially on these modern classics. They just look so much better with an analog dash. Other downsides, now this is not a downside for me, this is actually a bonus, but could be for some. That V-twin, it is characterful. Excuse the pun. Well, it's not a pun, is it? But yeah, that term, the characterful term. But I absolutely love it. Yeah, I'm going back onto the strong points now. The clutch and the gear shifter, a lovely feel to them. Clutch is lovely and light, and the gear shifter's light but positive action. That's a bonus. If we just ring it out. So if you can hear that, it's got a really nice noise to it when you bring the revs up. Quite a deep, throaty engine noise. I think with a set of aftermarket exhausts on, you'd be laughing. It would be great fun and add to that character. So as we finish up here, guys, I'd like to, as I do in all my videos, just give a big shout out to mental health awareness. If anyone's struggling out there, then just know you're not alone, and also that motorbiking can be a huge benefit to one's mental health. It has for me, and it still does massively help me out. Know that you're not alone. If you're really struggling, I highly recommend getting in touch with an organisation, for example the Samaritans. There's actually a motorbiking mental health charity called Mental Health Motorbike. I'll pop some links down in the description of the video. If you're really struggling, please don't hesitate, just get in contact with those charities, talk to someone. There is help available. On that note, just to round off the video, guys, I ride for my mental health, really. That's where it all started, but this is a fantastic bike for your mental health. That character, if you want character and an involving ride, then this V7 Stone Moto Guzzi, not Guzzi, Guzzi, is a great bike for it. Thank you for watching, guys. Again, a massive thank you to Dearden Motorcycles, just here on my port side, left-hand side, for lending me the bike for today. I'm really surprised with this. I very much enjoyed it. What a brilliantly characterful, fun machine to just enjoy the sensations of motorcycling. Get yourselves on a Guzzi V7. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Take care. Be happy. Ciao bella.